Since the involvement of NASCAR superstars Dale Earnhardt Jr., Kevin Harvick, Jeff Burton, and Justin Marks, the notoriety of the Cars Tour and its competitors has skyrocketed. The racing speaks for itself because it's true, grassroots, hard-nosed late model racing at its best. And we're here to bring that action to light. This is On Tour. Welcome to On Tour. My name is Buddy Pulley, co-host of the Big Motor Small Blade podcast. Joined, of course, by my co-host, lead Cars Tour reporter for FrontStretch.com, Chase Folsom, or as we know him on this channel, is Chuck. Chuck, it's Hall, Connor Hall, or maybe we could call him 007 after that fantastic finish at Langley, Atlanta Speedway. Hold my beer. What a race, dude.
Yeah, I unfortunately missed it. I was on vacation. I know, look at me, silly car store reporter. You guys know I was on vacation based on last week's episode, though. And I got a text from my good buddy Michael Massey, who was covering the race for me for Front Stretch.
Did a
He said
hell of a job.
he did an awesome job. Shout out to him. And he said, dude, you just missed the finish of the year. And I went and looked and I was like, oh my goodness, he's right. That was awesome. I put a tweet out on X that blew up, got 50,000 views. So appreciate you guys for that. It was just basically saying this series is awesome and it has the best racing in the country right now. And I stand by that because it does week in, week out. From the field top to bottom is the most talented you're going to find outside of, the NASCAR Cup Series, in my opinion, honestly. And I think the on track action shows that.
Yeah, and Langley puts on a great show too. I mean, it's a cool racetrack. I've never seen a race at Langley before, but I can see why I've heard about it so much.
Yeah, I've never been to Langley either, unfortunately, and I don't think I'm going to get to go this year. It's not looking like my schedule is going to line up for Hampton Heat, which is unfortunate. I think Michael Massey's actually going to go cover that one for us as well. Um, but I mean, the whole Hampton area, Langley Air Force Base, the whole area is cool. Virginia Beach area, always nice around there. Um, it's a flat, worn out racetrack, that just right in the wheelhouse of a late model stock car if you're looking for good racing. And it's on it's part of the Virginia Triple Crown. So those guys go there in the car store race, knowing they go back in a month with even more money on the line for Hampton Heat.
Yeah.
And that's a really big deal up there. So while they're there, trying to win a car store race, you're also, picking up notes.
Yeah.
Because they want to be fast there, not only for Hampton Heat, but for the entirety of the Triple Crown, because there's a lot of money on the line.
And it's kind of the reverse of like what we saw with the Orange Crush 200 in Orange County, where a lot of guys use those notes to take to the Orange County car store race.
Yeah, pretty much. So
Yeah.
it's just because Hampton Heat's been around. This is,
Yeah.
I believe, somewhere in the 20s. I don't hold me to the number, but they've been doing it for a while.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, yeah, I mean, a 3 wide finish in a cars tour race is, I mean, not unheard of, but like it's been the year of close finishes, you know? I mean, we saw in NASCAR, obviously we had the 3 wide finish in Atlanta. Rumor has it you don't want to be the number 8 car in the middle. It just doesn't work out for you there. But I love the fact, my favorite part about it is as aggressive as they were those last 25 laps, and they were, good Lord. I mean, as soon as that, after the last comp yellow was over, I mean, it was full blown bumper to bumper, just raw action. But they did it clean down at when it came down to it. Brent raced hard, he raced clean. Carson raced hard, raced clean. They gave back what they got earlier, but nothing too much. And obviously Connor Hall came away with the victory.
Yeah, and you have to really pay close attention. But that entire situation was set up by Carson Kvapil the restart before. If you go back to the restart before, Carson jumps the restart and he realizes he jumps the restart and he gets on the brakes and Connor gets the lead.
Yeah.
But Carson does that a lot. He did it at Southern National to Brent Cruz. He got Brent Cruz to jump the following restart, and that's what got him the lead because Brent got black flagged for it.
Yeah.
And he did the same thing to Connor, and it got in Connor's head. And At least that's what it seems like. Because if you watch that final restart, as soon as they get to the zone, Connor, assuming Carson's going to go, he gets on the gas.
Yeah.
Well, he spins the rear tires, and Carson beats him to the line. So that whole thing is set up by just how intelligent of a race car driver Carson Kvapil is. And I'm doing this because I want to give him his flowers. I know he wasn't a part of he was a part of the 3Y, but he
Yeah.
wasn't there in the photo. But you got to give him his flowers because his racecraft is incredible.
Yeah.
And that's the reason he's gotten the opportunities this year that he has. And it's little things like that that if you pay attention, you can see why he is so good and why he is always there at the end of these races.
Exactly. I mean, he's not flashy in the slightest, for sure. I mean, and all of that was set up. That restart was set up by Cade Brown, he says with the smirk. And that's what set up the final restart, which ultimately, or set up the final two restarts where Katie Henninger spun out with Brandon Pierce there on the last lap. I mean, Connor Hall could see the checkered flag in the starter's hand and just couldn't get there. And obviously, we saw a fantastic finish to this race there. We did talk to all three of the competitors: Connor Hall, Carson Kvapil, and Brent Cruz. Let's hear what they had to say about the finish.
3 wide at the finish line, 7 thousandths of a second. Did you think it had gotten away from you at all?
When I held it wide open, and I pretty much was already apologizing to the crew because I knew I was probably going to put it in the fence, but I'd rather put one in the fence and win than put one in the fence probably than not win. So I took that into my own matters and just pretty much had my mind made up. It was either going to be concrete with a win or concrete without one. So, but I don't know, man. I have never had such a race where like I really truly felt like I was out of it. And just because I obviously a lot of people know I run here a lot, so I have I'm very accustomed to what I feel like a race car needs to win here. And I just didn't really feel like I had it. And then all of a sudden, after I said it over, it's like I spoke it into existence. I said it over the radio, and then the thing shot out of a rocket. So I don't know. Just I'm kind of speechless. I get booed up and down whenever I come to my home track, which is kind of funny. But I'm just really glad I could at least allow opportunity and preparation to finally meet.
What happened on that one restart to kind of shuffle you out?
Yeah, honestly, just the 03 just kind of ran through me a little bit. But, I mean, it's Langley, right? So seems like everybody just kind of runs through each other the last 25, and it just pretty much gets rowdy. So happy to be here and happy to have the car in one piece and with a good finish.
Did you think you had won the race?
Honestly, I have no idea. I mean, we were like right here at the choose cone, and I knew it was between me and the 22. I didn't know who had it, but hats off to Connor and them. I know he gets a lot of boosts here, but they're great people, and if I didn't want to win, if I didn't get the win, then I wanted it to be him. So great job to them, and hats off to this Mobil 1, Toyota Camry, whole team. Holy smokes. Yeah.
Third place, but 3 wide for the win there. Did you think you had it?
I mean, down the backstretch, I thought we had a really good shot at it. All day, we really just had to race our tail off the whole race just to kind of hold the top 10, and didn't have a good car, honestly. Blame me on that one. I just didn't get it right for the race, and we were just kind of struggling everywhere through the corner. And I feel like if I was able to be more towards the front, I guess you'd say, and I have to run so hard, I think we'd have a better shot at it there at the end. But no, it was a great race there. A lot of things went our way, and we were able to just gain track position and then be there at the end. And I thought I had him, but once we got 3 wide, I kind of knew we were going to be in trouble. And it was fun overall, though.
You heard there from the top 3 finishers. It's got to be a little bit bittersweet for Carson. He won one of these finishes last year at Hickory over, funny enough, Connor Hall. So Connor Hall, he said it right there. He was going to drive it in the fence or die trying. Obviously, probably remembering back to that Hickory race last year. Those were the top 3 finishers. Let's take a look at the rest of the results from Langley.
Taking a look at the results from the Visit Hampton 125 at Langley Speedway, it was Connor Hall who picked up his first Cars Tour win of the season and his first with Nelson Motorsports. Just 7 1,000ths of a second behind was Brent Cruz in second, who led 100 laps on the night but just comes up short. And also a part of the 3 wide finish was Carson Kvapil, who comes home third. Local Matt Waltz brought his number 2M home in fourth, with rookie Trey Lapsevich with yet again another top 5 in fifth. Ryan Millington a strong run in sixth, with Chad McCumbee in seventh. Bobby McCarty fell back on a late restart but recovered to 8th. Deke McCaskill brought his number 808 home in 9th, and Bryce Applegate picked up a top 10 in 10th. Ronnie Bassett Jr. comes home in 11th, with Andrew Grady following up his strong performance at Tri-County in 12th. Minnie Tyrell looks towards his home race at Dominion next time out, but he comes home 13th. Local hero Brendan Queen spun late off the nose of Brent Cruz, and he comes home 14th, with Connor Jones at 15th. Rookie Gavin Boschel brought his number 55 home in 16th, with Jacob Hefner in 17th. Tyler Tomasi in 18th, and Cade Brown after a late spin in 19th. Katie Hettinger, who spun on what was the last lap before the caution, in 20th. Spinning with Katie Hettinger was Brandon Pierce in 21st. Landon Lewis, who led one lap on the night, comes home in 22nd. Cody Dempster dropped out of the race with an overheating issue in 23rd, and Buddy Isles Jr. suffered an accident on lap 55. He comes home 24th.
Now, part of what makes Langley so great is the crowd reaction. Obviously, they're very loud and proud in favor of Butterbean, but maybe not so much for Connor Hall. Connor gave us a great interview enlightening us on why there's such a stark difference in crowd reaction for the two hometown heroes.
Why do you get booed here?
I don't know. I think the general consensus is for the weekly stuff is that I cheat a lot. Nothing against Brendan when I say this, but for whatever reason, he just has like a cult following here, which, like I said, great for him. He sells a pile of T-shirts. I wish I could too, but I think it's just kind of like this is your – I don't want to use an analogy to like a cup people because we're not there yet, but this might be like, I don't know, like I'm a Kyle Busch. He's a Dale Jr., Chase Elliott kind of fan favorite, and I get the booze, but honestly, him and I race our tail off, and he's really going to have a lot of respect for all the guys around me, and just happy I could be the one on top this week.
So you heard there in Connor Hall's interview, his first theory to why he may get booed is that there's a consensus that he cheats in the weekly side of the things at Langley. That's a bold statement to make if you're not cheating.
Yeah.
I don't know that I'd say that, but in all seriousness, I think it just stems from the fact that every racetrack that has two really good hometown heroes, there's got to be somebody that the fans cheer for every week, and there's got to be somebody that the fans boo every week.
To put it in wrestling terms, it's the baby face and the heel, and Connor's the heel very much, and Butterbean, funny enough, has a baby face and is the baby face.
Yeah, and he kind of mentions that when he gives the whole Dale Jr. Kyle Busch analogy. And it's just on a different scale because especially at local tracks, when there's a group of guys that race every week, there's always the specific group that are at the front every week. And it's the same way at Hickory. It's the same way at Tri-County and everywhere else that has a local group. There's the guys people cheer for, and there's the guys people boo for. And a lot of times, there's one good guy that they cheer for, and the rest of the good guys, they boo. And that just happens to be where Butterbean and Connor Hall fall, and they have a bigger platform now there in the car store.
Yeah, and that's what makes short track racing so great is because they do have that weekly series, and when these guys get the opportunity to move up into the big leagues and they come back to their home track, I mean, it's so great to see because it is no different than going to a cup race and Chase Elliott comes out and the whole crowd goes wild, and Denny Hamlin comes out and the whole place is showered in boos. I mean, it's no different. It's really, it means people give a damn, and that's always a good thing.
Absolutely. It's always a good thing when there's, I believe it was Dale Earnhardt. Hold on.
I know what quote you're about to say. It's the quote of, it doesn't matter if they're booing, cheering, or what, as long as they're making noise, you're doing something right.
Noise. Thank you for picking up my slack, buddy.
Yes.
But on
it's
another
one of
note,
my favorite quotes.
On another note, Connor Hall finally has a win with Nelson Motorsports.
Yes.
He made the move there this past offseason. It took him till June to finally win a race. I don't think that was on anybody's bingo card, considering how much success Landon Huffman had with them at the end of last year. And it's not that they haven't had success.
Yeah, he's been bouncing up and down. Yeah.
And they just haven't found victory lane for whatever reason. They almost won the icebreaker. They almost won their first race together.
Yeah.
And they got beat out by Carson Kvapil down there in Florence. Now they have the monkey off their back. They have a win. I would not be surprised if that
Did
team
they
goes on.
not get a win together earlier in the year somewhere
N-
else?
Not that I know of. Not it was definitely wasn't a car store event.
No, it wasn't a car store race. No.
I don't know
Well,
of any
well,
Nelson event that
yeah,
he's won.
yeah.
We can go back and double check that, but it definitely wasn't publicized to me.
Okay.
So either way, even if they did somewhere and nobody else knew about it, they have a car store win now.
Yeah.
They're in the win column, and that means the world to any race team.
Now, as good of a night as it was for Connor Hall, it was that much worse of a night for old Butterbean. And it's something I noticed throughout the entire last 25 laps of the race, really, when Butterbean and Connor Hall got to 1-2, is how aggressively they were racing each other and just how aggressive they were once they got there. I mean, it it seemed to me both of them came into that night, and it was very apparent in those last 25 laps that both of them felt like, I'm supposed to be here. I'm supposed to win this race tonight. And you saw the aggression come out of both of them towards the end of that thing.
Yeah, I think that has played out at Langley back to last year because Butterbean had just won at Wilkesboro last year, and they went up to Langley, and he was, the favorite to
Yeah.
win. And at that time, Connor wasn't running the full tour. He was the local guy at Langley, and he took it to him.
Yeah.
And Butterbean was there at the end, but he couldn't get around him, and Connor stole the win away from him eventually, or essentially, sorry. And then they went back at Hampton Heat, and that's I guess you could say the local race, the
Yeah.
big local event. And that's supposed to be Connor's gig. That's his big deal to win. He won like basically every race he ran there last year up to that
Yeah.
point. And then Butterbean got him in the late stages of that race, and he won Hampton Heat. So it's like they have this back and forth going on of who owns Langley, I
Yeah.
guess. And neither one of them want to lose to the other one there. It's almost like a one night rivalry every time they show up to that racetrack.
Yeah.
And it played out again Saturday night because, like we said, it's probably going to be the hometown battle. And lo and behold, there they were at the front of the field at the end of the race, and they started giving each other the bumper. It worked out for one of them, not so well for the other.
Yeah. And I mean, that makes you all the more excited for Hampton Heat later on this year, and we're gonna cover that obviously here in about a month there. You mentioned not so great for the other for the other one in the mix. The other one was Butterbean. Obviously both of them track champions at Hampton or at Langley. So Butterbean, high hopes coming in, and he had a disappointing end to his night. He talks a little bit more about that and why he ended the way he did.
Just wasn't meant to be tonight. Got a little physical on those restarts, and then I think the 22 got into us pretty hard down there in 3 and 4 and knocked the bumper loose, and we got black flagged with 8 to go. So it's a bummer leading the points and get a black flag with 8 to go, and just I get the position they're in. They got to make a safety call, but it's just really hard to take and swallow when the points battle's this close. So we'll just keep fighting. We don't ever quit, and we'll come back, at Dominion and try to capitalize.
Okay, so you heard Butterbean talk right there about how disappointing it was to get the black flag there with 8 laps to go. Both of us watched the race, watched the highlights. I don't know about you. I never saw a black flag. I saw a blue and white car get into the bumper bar there. Was that enough to spin him out? Like, what do we think? What is he talking about here?
I really don't know.
Yeah.
I need to check back with Massey and see if he knows anything about it because it's never once mentioned on the broadcast. If you
No.
go back and watch, Flo posted the full race. It was Race of the Week on their YouTube channel. So if you're really interested and you really want to see what we're talking about, go back and watch it. You missed a great race if you didn't watch it.
Yeah.
But they never mentioned it on the broadcast. And the next thing they know, they cut to the 03 spinning out of turn 2. Now, when you mentioned um, Brent Cruz hitting the bumper bar
Yeah.
and turning him. I question if
And to enlighten everybody, he had a piece of he said it in an interview, he had a piece of the bumper bar hanging off the back of the car for really ever since, I guess, the restart with about 15-ish laps to go, there where Connor Hall got in the back of him, and the Nerf bar is just sitting there dragging for the last however many laps, and that's, that's where, that's what he's talking about essentially.
and if you go back and watch the replay or the live shot, whatever, you'll see Brent Cruz runs into that Nerf bar,
Yeah.
but it's hanging off the right rear corner, and I question, is that really enough to spin a race car around?
Yeah.
So putting the little tinfoil hat on here, I wonder if there was a black flag that
Yeah.
wasn't mentioned, and there may have been a self spin off turn 2 to avoid having
Oh.
to, bring it down pit road. Oh gosh, I know. Spin gate. We're not doing that again. But I don't know. I don't have an explanation for it. He was really upset about a black flag,
Yeah.
and none of us know what he's talking about. So obviously he's in the driver's seat. He sees way more than we do. But I'd love to know a little more backstory on that because it was never mentioned.
Yeah, it was just a very, it was just a weird race for Butterbean all around. I mean, normally we see him at a track like Langley. We see it saw it at New River, saw it at, Southern National. He normally lays back, gives up all his track position, basically. I mean, that's why a lot of times we don't see Butterbean qualify. Fantastic. It really doesn't matter to him because he's going to end up at the back anyway and drive straight to the front when it comes time to do it. But this race was a little bit different. He didn't let Brent Cruz get too far out in front of him. Obviously, Brent Cruz led the first 100 laps of this race, but Butterbean was right there keeping him honest. That was uh that was just odd to me. That was very out of character for Butterbean. Do you think I had a theory? Could it be the new tire? We've heard a lot of guys, especially Bobby McCarty last week, talking about the new tire and how hard it is to get a handle on it. Do you think he just didn't want to, get too far back and worry about the tire not, playing to his advantage?
I think that has a lot to do with it
Really?
because I
Okay.
think these guys have started to realize they can push the hell out of these tires and
Yeah.
they're not going to fall off that much. Um, Whether or not that's good for racing is a speculation and a conversation for another day.
It's hard to
Um,
argue that it's not based on the race we saw,
right?
but it's also could be hard to argue for based on, you know, the race we saw last week.
The lack of strategy,
Yeah,
basically.
the
It's
lack of
almost
yes.
like it's just go, 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 go.
Yeah.
It I don't wanna compare it to a cup car and the cup tire, but
Well, it's a
it
very
seems
apt comparison. Yeah.
it seems in a similar manner that the tire just for what we're doing, doesn't fall off. I'm sure it falls off, but it doesn't fall off nearly as much as the tire we had a year ago.
Yeah.
And I think that plays into it with and kinda what we talked about earlier with him feeling like he should win this race, and he doesn't wanna be stuck back there if
Exactly.
things don't play his way like Orange County.
Yeah. Obviously it was like we've said before, it's a rough night for Butterbean. He came in as the points leader after getting the win at Tri County. But leaving Langley, Connor Hall has retaken the points lead. Brent Cruz is now just 5 points back of the lead. Butterbean falls down to third, 9 points back. Mini Tyrell and Trayton Lapsovich, again, Trayton Lapsovich, having a great run. He finished top five here. They are both fourth and fifth, 21 points back. Carson Kvapil missed the race. He's 22 points back. Bobby McCarty, Ryan Millington, 24 points back. Chad McCumbee in ninth, 31 points back. I end there because those are all the guys within a race's worth of points of the points lead, and we've seen how unpredictable this season, and especially like we just mentioned, this tire can be.
Excuse me. Yeah. Any of those guys on that list could go out and win a race on
Yeah.
any given Saturday night. Mini Tyrell, we're going to his home racetrack
Yep.
next Saturday at Dominion. The name of the race is the Minis Mission 125. Who's to say? Who's to say Minnie Tyrell can't go win that race? And then, oh, look at that. He's within 10 points of the points lead, probably. Carson
Yeah.
Kvapil sitting 22 points back is scary for everyone.
Yeah.
Because all it takes is one switch to flip in that 8 camp, and they can go win 3 in a row. They've proved it before. They did it last
Yeah.
year. So that whole top 9, and even Deke McCaskill, 53 points back in 10th.
Yeah.
They can string together a couple races, and they're right back in it too.
Yeah.
This points battle, and this always happens with the car store every year. The points battle is so close, and it's a season-long championship that just stays so close because the series is so competitive. It's hard for anybody to get an edge, and it's playing out really nicely for the fans this year. I'm sure not for the drivers. I'm sure they're all stressed about it because you got 10 guys with a shot at a championship right now. So I'm sure nobody's resting easy on that front. But the fans, we're all enjoying it, and us covering it, we're having a great time with it too.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm having a grand old time watching this points battle, man. I mean, it is like a yo-yo every week. It's going back and forth between these 4 or 5 guys, and it's bringing everybody back into it. When we come back from our break, we will talk about some big news coming to late model racing and late model racing coming to the big leagues in NASCAR. Let's talk about that after we get a word from frontstretch.com. Frontstretch.com is where you'll find all your racing content in one place for free. They have it all from NASCAR to F1 to IndyCar, grassroots racing, and even iRacing. Frontstretch has you covered with daily news for every series, weekly columns, and even on-site coverage at every NASCAR and Cars Tour event. Head over to frontstretch.com, subscribe to their YouTube page, and give them a follow on X to get your daily fix on all things motorsports. As always, big shout out to frontstretch.com. I want to say thank you to them for allowing me to go to the racetrack and allowing us to use the content that I get at the racetrack, and Michael Massey in this case, and everybody else has helped us out this year, and allowing us to use it in this show. So if you want to see more content like you've seen in this video, or more written content about the Cars Tour or any other form of motorsports, head over to frontstretch.com, where you can find all of your racing needs in one place. If you want to see more video interviews, you can go to frontstretch.com's YouTube channel, or if you want to find all your Car Store content, you can now go to Front Stretch Grassroots YouTube channel, where you will find all of your Car Store, ASA, and any other late model content for the rest of the year and onward. Buddy has something to share with us, so I'm curious to hear what it Well,
is.
it's not even much to share with us. It's something that someone else shared with the world, or hinted out to the world. But I want to know if you're smelling that cookout tray. If
I am very much smelling that cookout tray.
okay, all right. So to refer to enlighten everyone on what we're referencing to, Chuck and I had a bet a while back. Dale
Back to New
Earnhardt
River
Jr.
in
Back
April.
back to New River, all the way back. I think that's what, episode 2 or 3 of this show. And it was in reference to Dale Earnhardt Jr. saying that he was going to run a late model race in July, sometime mid to end of July. I thought he meant the Hickory Throwback Race, which is July, I think 28th. 27th. I thought, perfect, Dale Jr. Obviously he's going to run the throwback race. He's getting that trademark from DEI. He's going to run a Bud car, like something crazy. I don't know. Chuck thought maybe he, wanted to have a weekend at the beach with his family and was going to go run Hampton Heat. And what did Junior put on Twitter earlier this week, Chuck?
So he's been hitting at it up and down, and he said, can't wait to tune in to the Cars Tour race at Langley tonight. Need to take some notes on how to get around that legendary track. Watch it with me on Flow Racing. Now, why would Dale Earnhardt Jr. need to take notes on how to get around Langley, buddy?
Man, I don't know. Maybe he's coming on tour. He wants to make sure he's studied up real good, so he can come on here during Hampton Heat, and we can talk about it together. No, it's probably because he's running the damn race. So yeah, the
this
bet
is not confirmed.
yeah,
This is all speculation.
yeah.
But
So the bet was whoever was right, whether I was right about the Hickory Throwback or Chuck was right about Hampton Heat. The winner gets a cookout tray, fittingly enough, the Victory Lane sponsor of the Cars Tour. So Chuck, go ahead
I
and
like I
go
like
ahead.
a big I like a big double burger with cheese bites and a chicken quesadilla.
I'm really heartbroken. I'm not going to get my banana and mayo milkshake.
I am
Um,
not eating one of those.
anyway, so another Cars Tour owner who is confirmed to at least be running in the Cars Tour in another late model race. Kevin Harvick is going to run 2 late model races. He's going to run a super late model at Five Flags Speedways down in Pensacola, Florida, on June 28th. Okay. He's going to run a Busch Light number 62 Chevrolet, so that's really cool. Them rekindling their relationship there. I don't think Kevin's run a super ever. I think he's run a straight rail once. So
You would know.
yeah, I believe that's true. So that'll be new for Kevin, but also he's going to run the Cars Tour race at the makeup race at Wilkesboro. So obviously that'll be really cool. That's going to be a huge weekend for the series. It's obviously an off weekend for Cup, so all eyes will be on that. And Kevin is definitely going to put some butts in the seats out there in Wilkesboro, like they need the hype, but just that much more. I know somebody. I'm really close with someone who's going to be who's really excited about this news. I don't. I'm not going to say their name on the show, but yeah. I bet they're really happy about this.
Who it is.
I don't know. I think his name's like Al or something. I don't know, something stupid like that. But some other news about other people racing into other things. Butterbean is getting another shot in the Tricon garage truck. He's getting 2 more races at Nashville and at Kansas later this year. As soon as they announce this, Chuck, some people might think, why is he not running a short track? But I want to remind everyone, there's another late model standout that's been doing pretty darn good on these 1.5 miles, and that would be Caden Honeycutt. We saw him have a great run at Charlotte a couple weeks ago. He darn near won the spring Kansas race for the Truck Series. So, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Butterbean went out there, and as good as he was at Wilkesboro, he seems to have a handle on these trucks. Goes out to Nashville and Kansas and has a good run.
Yeah, those are both tracks that the groove moves around a lot, right?
Yes.
As rubber gets laid down on the track, especially Nashville being a concrete track, and really Kansas too. You move around all night long. People may not know Butterbean comes from a dirt background.
Yep.
So moving around the racetrack is right in his wheelhouse. I'm actually going to be at Nashville as a fan, so I am stoked to see Butterbean in that race. I'll get to cheer on my fellow Cars Tour companion from the stands at Nashville and then Kansas. And another thing that people have to consider is he's running for a championship, and his primary obligation is the 03 car for Lee Pulliam.
Yep.
And he's not in a spot where maybe like Carson is, where he can jump out of the car and skip a race and go run the truck. It's different for Carson because he's staying in the same shop.
Yeah.
Either way. That's Junior's decision what Carson runs.
Yeah.
It's a different scenario when you're dealing with 2 different teams, and Butterbean has a contract to fulfill and a championship to chase. So there may be some events that he may want to run that he can't run because of what the Cars Tour schedule looks like. So everybody just keep that in the back of your mind when you're looking at the races that they chose.
Yeah, but obviously this means something because Toyota clearly sees something in Butterbean that they like. David Gilliland and them guys over at Tricon Garage. I'm sure we'll welcome him back with open arms, and he'll do a great job for him there. Yeah. Chuck, I was going to ask you something. Oh, no, I was going to tell you something. I do have a good lead on a nice Waffle House out there in Lebanon. For when you go to Nashville. So you might see your old pal Butterbean over down there after the truck race, maybe after a win.
We may have to go hit that up.
Yeah.
I think we have one more thing to cover on tonight's show. I think it's my question.
Yeah, I was about to say,
Actually,
you got a question for me.
So I do, and it directly ties in to the guy Pal is so excited to see run a late model.
Okay.
So obviously, Kevin.
I gotta relay this question to him.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
obviously, Kevin Harvick's running the super late model down at Five Flags for the
Yeah.
Southern Super Series race. That's an ASA sanctioned race. And then he's running the late model stock car at North Wilkesboro. That'll be a
Yeah.
Hunt Brothers sponsored car. So the question today is, which event does Kevin finish higher in? The ASA race at Five Flags in the super, or the car store race in the stock at Wilkesboro?
Ooh. All right. I think it's pretty clear. It's I I'd put a lot of money on he's gonna do better at Wilkesboro. Just because that late model team, his late model stock team, they've been running the grind week in and week out, especially he's gonna be running the 62 car. They've had different drivers. They're used to having different drivers. Obviously, William Sawalwich, Landon Lewis, Lane Riggs. They've all been in that car this year. So the guys working on it, they know how to set it up for different drivers. As far as the super goes, KHI hasn't entered too many super races. I think Ryan Preece ran one for them.
That was a snowball. And
He
then
did
Josh
run the
ran,
snowball. Okay, all right, that was the snowball. Okay, all right, that actually affects my answer now, because
and then
obviously
Josh ran at Hickory. So
Josh did run at Hickory in the. Okay,
my
all right.
answer is actually Five Flags.
I just the only reason I say Wilkesboro is because he won what I just said, and also he has some experience on the new surface at Wilkesboro. He obviously practiced the 5 car in the Cup car there All Star weekend, and I think just generally he has more experience at Wilkesboro than he does Five Flags. I don't know what the obviously there's going to be a stout crowd at or stout crop of drivers at Wilkesboro. I don't know what the competition is going to look like down there at Five Flags though.
So that's kind of why I'm leaning towards Five Flags, because it is an ASA race, but it's not a national race. It's the Southern Super Series, and you're going to have a lot of the same guys. I just don't know. And this is not a knock on them. I just think the field at Wilkesboro is going to be so incredibly stacked. Um, I
Here,
think that's why I think honestly, compared to what Kevin just got out of in a cup car, the super may possibly drive a little more similar
that is true because
on a
William.
short track.
Yeah, well, that's true because we've heard William Byron say he ran a lot of super races last year, and he attributed a lot of his Cup success last year to the super he ran. Yeah,
You really charge the corner a lot in a super, and
but then
so
I don't know because you also got to think about it. There's guys down at the ASA race. Those are guys that run Five Flags a lot,
yeah.
and
I don't know. It's gonna be tough fields for both.
no one other than Butterbean has other than Butterbean, yeah, has race experience at Wilkesboro. Well, Butterbean, and it'll be Sammy Smith as well. He ran the truck there. Um, so I think that also plays into Kevin's hands too. So I don't know. I'm gonna say Wilkesboro just because I know Powell will be there, and I know he'll be really glad to see Kevin run well there.
I'm gonna say Pensacola just to not agree with you.
Okay, we can put another cookout tray on it.
Let's do it right
All right,
now.
all right.
Lookout tray is on it.
Yeah, cookout tray on the finish of all Happers down in Wilkesboro and Pensacola.
And Wilkesboro. Yep.
Yeah, cool. Other than that, I think that's all we got for on tour this week. Next week we're running Dominion, or not next week.
No, next week we're actually off.
Yes, we're off next week. Chuck will be finally back at the track again on June 15th at Dominion. So he'll be at the whatever Mini Tyrell benefit for whatever.
Minis Mission 125.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, make sure you obviously subscribe to the Big Motor Small Blade YouTube channel for all sorts of motorsports content. But make sure you also support your local short tracks. We'll see you 2 weeks from now.